zoning meeting to order. We stand for the flag salute.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call. John Matthews.
Here.
Terry Burkowski.
Here.
Mark Danny.
Present.
Alex Demaro.
Here.
Will Smith.
Here.
Rocky Hempel.
Present.
Jeanette Holloman.
Yeah.
Jeff Spink.
Here.
And myself, Steve Rosenthal. All 9 members are present. We have approval of last month's minutes.
So moved. Second.
Motion and John seconded. Motion on the floor, second, to approve September's minutes as printed. Any discussion? Roll call vote. John Matthews.
Yes.
Terry Burkowski.
Yes.
Mark Danny.
Yes.
Alex Demaro.
Yes.
Wolf Smith.
Abstain.
Rocky Hempel.
Yes.
Jeanette Holloman.
Yes.
Jeff Spink.
Yes.
I vote yes. Motion carries 8 to 1 abstain. Secretary's report.
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, we have one item on the consent agenda. So when you approve the agenda, you'll be approving the consent item. And also, we have 11B. We are recommending that it be continued to the December 11th meeting. When you get to that point, you can actually table it or continue it.
You want us to table it at that time?
Yep, that'll be fine.
Do it? Okay. All right. Okay.
That's all I have.
That's all? Okay. Do I have a motion on the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor to approve the agenda. That would be one item on the consent agenda and everything else being heard tonight or tabled. Is there any further discussion? Roll call vote. John Matthews.
Yes.
Terry Burkowski.
Yes.
Mark Danny.
Yes.
Alex Demaro.
Yes.
Will Smith.
Yes.
Rocky Hempel.
Yes.
Jeanette Holloman.
Yes.
Jeff Spink.
Yes.
And I vote yes. Motion carries 9-0. Any declarations? On to the first item of the hearing, and that is case number DEV 19-106-107, consideration application for Tom Acres, 2-lot plat on a tract of land in Section 12, Township 11 South, Range 20 East of the 6 p.m. in Leavenworth County, also known as 24300 Sandusky Road. Request submitted by Herring Survey. This is not a public hearing item. Staff report.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. This is case number DEV 19-106-107. It's a request for a 2-lot subdivision on Sandusky Road. You may have noticed on the plat that it's sandwiched between Sandusky Road and Knight Road. Knight Road, the property along Knight Road has 297 feet of road frontage. The parcel itself is right at 10 acres. The property along Sandusky Road, there's clearly more than enough road frontage. However, that 297 feet along Knight Road caused a bit of an issue with dividing the parcel into two 5-acre parcels. Again, because of that 3 feet that we were missing. So staff is supportive of this request as it's presented. I'd like to go through the criteria for Article 56, which is exceptions, which this board can grant an exception. Staff feels that this is a case where the exception should be granted. In order to meet an exception, you have to find that there are special circumstances or conditions affecting the property. Again, this property was deeded quite some time ago at 297 feet. Perhaps they meant for it to be 300, maybe not. We're not completely sure. However, it being 3 feet short does create a unique situation in that otherwise they would not be able to divide this parcel. That the exception is necessary for the reasonable and acceptable development of the property. Again, granting this exception will allow them to divide this property into 2 5-acre parcels that will generally meet all zoning and subdivision regulations. And will continue to allow the parcel to be used as a rural residential parcel, just like everything else in the area. And then the third is that the granting of the exception will not be detrimental to public health or injurious to adjacent property owners. Again, the north parcel, the one with 297 feet, will still be 5 acres. We'll be able to have a single-family residential home on it, which is what that area is zoned for. So we are supportive of the exception. You can ask, obviously, any questions that you may have about that. The other thing is on Lot 2, it meets the road frontage requirements and such. There is a lagoon that is existing. It's less than 100 feet from the property line. Lagoon has been there for a very, very long time. Standard procedure would be that if the lagoon needs significant repair, then the lagoon would need to be brought into complete compliance, which means it would need to be decommissioned and moved or a traditional on-site sanitary system put in. That is one of the conditions. Staff is supportive of this request, and we will answer any questions that you may have. And I believe Mr. Herring is here and will answer any questions also.
Any questions of staff?
This is just 3 foot to allow this to happen. No brainer.
Okay, go on. Will the applicant please come forward?
Good evening, Joe Herring, Herring Surveying, 315 North Fifth Street. Basically, I agree. So, here to answer any questions.
Questions of the applicant? Thank you.
All right.
Easiest you've ever had, isn't it?
Exactly, hopefully.
Is there any additional information to be presented?
Nothing at this time, Chairman.
Are there any questions or comments, commissioners, or I'll entertain a motion?
Mr. Chair, I move that the proposed preliminary and final plat as outlined in case DEV 19-106-107 be approved, and that the findings on the golden factors as set forth in staff report and substantiated by the facts, testimony, and evidence presented be adopted by this board, and that the conditions set forth in the staff report be made part of this preliminary and final plat.
I'll second that motion.
The first and the second to approve case number DEV 19-106-107, the application for Tom Akers, 2-lot plat, and this is for the preliminary and final plat, correct? Yeah.
Correct, yes.
All right, with staff recommendations, as you mentioned. Is there any further discussion? Roll call vote. John Matthews.
Yes.
Terry Burkowski.
Yes.
Mark Danny.
Yes.
Alex Camaro.
Yes.
Wolf Smith. Yes. Rocky Hempel.
Yes.
Jeanette Holdeman.
Yes.
Jeff Spink.
Yes.
I vote yes. Motion carries 9-0. The Board of County Commissioners will consider this item at 9 a.m. on December 4th at the Leavenworth County Courthouse. Okay, we are ready for case number DEV 19-099. It's a consideration application for a tax amendment, but they have asked to be tabled. Do I have a motion to table?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion, we table DEV 19-099 till December the 11th.
I'll second that. We have a motion on the floor and a second to table case number DEV 19-099 to, you said December the
11th.
11th.
December the 11th. Any discussion? None, we have roll call vote. John Matthews.
Yes.
Terry Bobkowski.
Yes.
Mark Denny.
Yes.
Alex Tomorrow.
Yes.
Will Smith.
Yes.
Rocky Hempel.
Yes.
Jeanette Holdeman.
Yes.
Jeff Spink.
Yes.
And I vote yes. Motion carries 9-0 to table. Okay. Right along. Case number DEV 19-103, consideration of application of a special use permit for the operation of a kennel, Focasinos doggy daycare, I'm sorry if I messed it up, on a tract of land located in section 16, township 8 south, range 22 east of the 6 PM in Leavenworth County, Kansas. Request submitted by Catherine Dela Cruz, also known as 16425 Fort Riley Road. This does require a public hearing. Public comment is limited to 3 minutes per person with the exception of the applicant. Staff report.
Mr. Chairman, this is case number DEV-19-103. This is a special use request for a kennel, a boarding facility, and a doggy daycare facility on a tract of land that is approximately 1.3 acres in the northern portion of the county. You can see I have it pulled up here on GIS for you to take a look at. The area where the where the play area is in front of this outbuilding. It's not an outbuilding, excuse me, this is an accessory dwelling unit. It's a fenced area that runs along the property line up to the road and then back to the house there, just for your understanding there. Like I said, the applicants, they are currently operating a doggy daycare at this facility, or at this location. They do have a state license. It's our understanding they've been in operation for potentially more than a year. We had a complaint that was received a few months ago rather, regarding operation of a kennel without a special use permit. At that time, we sent out the standard letter to the property owners and asked them to come in. They did promptly come in and they submitted their application for a special use permit. As I said, the parcel is approximately 1.3 acres in size. They indicate in their narrative that they typically have between 6 and 7 dogs daily for doggy daycare, and then about 10 dogs per week stretched out over the week for boarding facilities. So on average, somewhere between 6 and 10 dogs a day at the property. Their typical hours of operation are Monday through Friday from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. for daycare, and then 6 a.m. until 9 p.m. for boarding, drop-off, and pickup. They indicate that if the dogs need to go outside of those hours, they're walked as opposed to just being allowed out into the fenced area. The fenced-in area is approximately 1/10 of an acre. In staff's opinion, based upon some other staff reports, some other kennels that we've had, that's a fairly small area. This parcel of land is fairly small. I am going to go through the golden factors with you all. The character of the neighborhood, the immediate area surrounding the proposed business is primarily rural residential. Most of the properties are parcels that are less than 2 acres with residences on them. The greater surrounding area is primarily agricultural in nature. So if we zoom out here a little bit, you can see all of these parcels, they're all between 1 and 2 acres. So this is not a typical residential development that you would see out in the county. It's much smaller lots. They're much closer together than typical. The zoning in this area is RR 2.5. These residences have been established for a very long time, which explains why they are less than the minimum 2.5 acre that we would typically see in this area. Suitability of the property for the uses to which it's been restricted. Again, the property is within an area suited for rural residences and agricultural uses. While this is a use that is allowed with a special use permit, the property is not suitable for the request. The subject property is approximately 1.3 acres in size with surrounding properties of similar size. The proposed use will cause excessive noise, which is likely to negatively impact surrounding property owners due to the proximity. There are more than 15 homes located within a 1,000-foot radius. Again, just to give you an idea of how this is not a typical rural residential area. Additionally, the area which is dedicated to outdoor activity for the dogs is relatively small. Furthermore, it's directly adjacent to a neighboring property line, and staff is also concerned about the waste which is generated by the use. The applicants indicate that the waste is regularly picked up and composted there on site. Extent to which removal of the restrictions will detrimentally affect nearby property. The area is likely to be detrimentally affected. Nearby property owners are likely to be detrimentally impacted by the excessive noise. The use also produces excessive waste, which may detrimentally impact the property owner, especially the one directly adjacent to where the dog run is directly located. Length of time the property has been vacant is zoned. The property is not vacant. Relative gain to economic development, public health, safety, and welfare. The proposed use provides income for the applicant. Conformance to the comprehensive plan, this area is suited for rural residential. And finally, staff recommendation, which is for denial of the special use permit. I believe Ms. Dela Cruz is here and will answer any questions that you may have, as will we.
Anybody have any questions of staff? Upon opening the public comment portion of this hearing, those of you who wish to speak either for or against this item upon recognition will give your name and address each time you begin to speak. This is necessary since the public hearing is being recorded. The public comment portion of the hearing is now open. Will the applicant please come forward? Okay. Your name and address, please.
My name and address?
Yes.
So my name is Catherine De La Cruz, and I live at 16425 and 16427 Fort Riley Road. They're adjacent properties. I start by saying I'm extremely nervous. So my husband and I operate a doggy daycare and boarding facility there at on Fort Riley Road. I think the thing to kind of start off with is that this is not a kennel. So you hear, of course, we have a state license for a kennel, and a lot of the rules and regulations apply to kennels. And a typical kennel facility is like an indoor facility with cages, and the dogs stay in those cages and go outside 3, 4, 5, 6 times a day. So that's not us. We're an in-home boarding facility. What does that mean? That means the dogs are in our house with us. They sleep on the couch. They sleep on a bed. They watch TV with us during the evening times. They're not locked up in pens where they're lonely or they're barking or they're like constantly, trying to voice the fact that they're pinned up. So basically, we're kind of a niche market. Most kennels will operate with 70 to 100 dogs. We take on 12 as our absolute max. So in terms of barking, dogs bark, but they bark when they're prompted. They bark when the mailman comes to bring our mail. They bark when the UPS guy delivers something. And they bark when clients come to drop off and pick up their dogs. So it's not an excessive, all-day, nonstop type barking. We do also feel a need for this community. There is a need for dog care. All of the kennels in this area will tell you that they're full, that they're at max capacity, that there's nowhere to house these dogs, especially with the fort bringing such a large population, and they don't have any, they have one boarding facility on there, but it's strictly boarding, no daycare, and their max capacity is 5 dogs. So all of those people have to bring their dogs off base somehow, and there's just not enough kennel space for dogs. So other kennels are full, we're also full. So this just lets you know that there's a need for it, and if our permit were to be denied, you would have these dogs back in a place of where do they go. And then lastly, I think we do have insurance, so we are fully covered. It's not like homeowners insurance, it actually is pet insurance. We have a state license, so we're meeting those regulations for sanitation and dog care. And if our permit would be denied, these dogs would probably be placed in cares of people who are not regulated, people who are not monitored, people who are not inspected, because there are a vast number of dog sitters and dog watchers who kind of fly under the radar and don't have any licenses or permits. And so we don't want to be one of those people. I had no idea I needed a permit. It was my fault in the beginning that I didn't investigate further than I did. But as soon as I got the letter, I had my application in the next day. So I want to be in compliance. I want to work with my neighbors. I've chatted with most of them about this permit, their concerns, their comments, talked about the barking and the waste and things like that. And we haven't received any complaints of, oh gosh, those dogs, they just bother us. So most of our neighbors are in support. And then just to go down like the list of things. So the size. Yes, our plot is small. It's 1.3 acres. The fenced area that was mentioned, that was 1/10 of an acre, is one of our 2 fenced areas. So we do have a secondary fenced area, which is located behind our main home. And then there is an accessory building, I believe is almost half an acre, that is able to be fenced in. We just haven't got there yet because we haven't needed to, but there's no reason why we couldn't, which would increase the amount of space for the dogs to be in if the concern is that they're in too small an area. As for the waste, it is composted. We have a 55-gallon barrel with a closed spring-loaded lid that we compost in. I pick up waste about 1 million times a day. I joke that I'm a professional poop scooper. So we definitely pick it up all the time. It goes in that barrel. The enzyme used to propagate the composting is actually from our scrap compost from our home. So we're not even using chemicals for that. We use organic waste from our compost, which goes back into our garden. So waste should not be an issue at all. And then, of course, the barking, which I've already stated is a minimal amount of barking. It is not constant, and it's only with prompting, definitely during working hours, because I don't want to be outside in the dark with dogs either. So that's all I have. Are there any questions for me?
You know, I understand you don't keep any dogs overnight, or you do?
We do, yep. So we board dogs as well. They stay overnight with us. Our maximum on that is based upon our insurance. So our insurance allows 6 dogs per person. Since it's my husband and I, 12 would be our max. I would say that 12 is my max for sanity as well. And that's usually holidays. So Thanksgiving, Christmas, for sure, we have 12 dogs. But on a normal, regular day, between 4 and 6, sometimes 8, if there's a big event or something going on. But
And are those kept in the house at night, or are they allowed to
yes,
go out?
in the house. Yep, they sleep on couches, in the bed, on the floor. If they're kenneled at home, we have open wire kennels because we always try to mimic what people do in their homes so the dogs are comfortable. So if they're used to sleeping in a kennel, we would put them in one. But if not, there's several couches in the house, and the floor, and our bed. So.
What's their favorite TV show?
You know what? My dog loves to watch the Animal Channel, and people joke about that, but she really does. She'll sit and watch it. She barks at the animals running around, so they do watch TV.
Have you done anything to mitigate the noise outside?
So, yes, we have started a new process where we've noticed, literally, I mean, they bark when they're prompted. So I can't control the mailman. I can't control UPS. I can't control that kind of thing. But what I can control is clients coming and going. Because, of course, every time a car pulls in my driveway, all the dogs are there at the fence barking. So we've actually started now. We don't let the dogs out in the morning until every daycare dog has arrived. So if I have 3 dogs boarding, I get them out before my first daycare dog arrives. I let them use the restroom and run around, get their morning energy out. I bring them back in. And then as daycare dogs arrive, we either walk them around the property or we'll let them in the yard to, again, morning energy, use the restroom, and then we bring that dog inside too. So then we're leaving the dogs inside the house until all our daycare dogs have arrived, which is usually between 8 and 9, based on people's work schedules. And then we bring the dogs out. So they're all outside and they're not out there, while people are coming and going, dropping off their dogs. And then the other time we do that is, clients always tell us when they're coming to pick up their dogs. They'll say, I'm on my way to get them, I'll be there in 20 minutes. So then we'll bring all the dogs inside again, and that way when the customer comes to pick up their dog, the dogs are not barking. So that's the only time that I can really control their barking, versus when I'm in the yard with them, and hound dogs will be hound dogs with squirrels. But I do, I try to tell them to, hey, be quiet, stop barking. It's not necessary. So that's the major time that they're barking, drop-offs and pickups. Other than that, They bark when the mailman comes, but the mailman drops the mail and they drive on, and the dogs stop barking, so.
Any other questions?
Is that a house? I think it's to the west of you. Goes down where you were showing the.
So here's
Yes,
the,
is that a house or?
That's a barn. It's my neighbor's barn. The neighbor is actually present here today.
And that little white thing by the property, that's like a garage too or something? I didn't know if that was the neighbor that complained about the barking or.
I don't actually know who complained about the barking. I don't think anyone does. The report listed as an anonymous complaint, so we don't really know where that complaint came from. So I don't deny that the dogs bark. The dogs bark, but not 24 hours a day.
I just didn't know. It sounded like his question was asking about mitigating, like sound. Like, can you have a sound barrier? Or is that what you were asking? Whoever asked that?
I don't know that it would,
I just wondered if they were making
yeah.
excessive noise outside where the neighbors would be hearing it and verbalizing their complaints accordingly.
Right. Yeah. I don't know that I could build a sound barrier in any way, but.
Well, I'm thinking, like just.
Tree row,
Do what?
a row of trees can do
A
Yeah.
row of trees.
I don't think you could get it down to 60 decibels.
it. Okay.
Oh, yeah,
Trees.
no. One dog alone
I
can
know,
bark
and that's
pretty
our
loud.
requirement, at property
Yeah.
lines is 60
Yes.
decibels at the property line.
Right.
I don't think you can get that on 1 acre.
No, for sure
No
not.
matter what you put in unless you.
I think I would argue that, sure, the dogs bark, and I think the report talks about, and this is just my opinion, I think the report talks about the effect that it may or may not have on property owners. And I feel like if there were no formal complaints that came out after the letter, the letter was mailed to everyone in the affected area, and if there's not 30 people who stand up here today and say the dog's barking just drives me insane, then yes, the dogs bark. Sure, you've never issued a permit for a plot size our size, small. I get that. But that doesn't mean that it bothers people. That doesn't mean, it obviously bothers one person, but if it doesn't bother the other affected homes in the area, if they're not here to complain, if they're not saying that this is an issue for them, then I'm open to conditions based upon what times the dogs can be in the yard or how many dogs I can have. But I think that there has to be a compromise between one person doesn't like the dogs barking and I don't have a business. And I would be open to any conditions that would be placed upon that permit as well. So,
Any other questions? Do you have anything to add?
not at this time.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Yes.
We will now hear from the individuals present wishing to speak in favor of this request. In favor, and remember, everybody's limited to 3 minutes.
Hello, good evening. My name is Monica Collins, and I live at 1024 Wellington Drive, over there by Warren Middle School. I have personally been using Puppicino's doggy daycare for over a year. I can't say enough good things about Catherine and Gustavo and how well they take care of all the animals in their care. I have 2 dogs, one big, one tiny, and both of them literally vibrate with joy when we pull up because they enjoy their time there so much. I highly appreciate the fact that if my dogs are there for an overnight stay, they are in a house. They are not in a cold dog run with only whatever bedding that I provide for them. Feeling like both of my dogs are rescue dogs. So when they go into that kind of a situation, they once again feel like they're in a shelter. And we have had problems with taking them to such places as Deb's Riverview or Roverwood. Not to say anything bad against those particular businesses, but they do use the kennel or the dog, the individual runs a lot more than I think probably should happen. And my dogs stress out. They come home just distraught. And as a pet owner, it means a lot to me to be able to take my two girls to a place that they truly do treat them as their own. Anytime, if you would bother to go out there, I feel like the yard is the two places that they have for the dogs to exercise currently are bigger than some of the businesses that are running right here within city limits. And these people have more dogs, so I don't get that. I don't understand that. You will not step in anything out there because both Catherine and Gustavo are out there daily cleaning up after each and every dog. They they really are professional poop scoopers. And they are also willing to do something that a lot of folks aren't willing to do, which is to help out their clients who may have just, super busy schedule or may have be be disabled and not be able to bring their dog out. They will pick the dog up for their client. I'm sorry. Thank you for your time, and I think it would be a detriment to the community to close this business.
Anyone else wishing to speak in favor of this request?
Good evening. My name is Maria Trainum. I live at 24081 146th Street in Lansing. I have a new puppy that we adopted about 9 months ago, and I started taking her to Pupacino's for an overnight stay because we had to travel. I first went to visit Gustavo and Catherine to see what this place was like because I didn't want to leave my dog in the kennel. I had left her there, and it was terrifying for her. So I went to check it out to see what it was like because I just couldn't understand how they had the dogs and they lived in a house and how they had them out. When I went out there, I was very impressed. It was it's clean. The yard is clean. There are, when the dogs are out, they're not barking constantly. So I first took my dog for overnight stay while we traveled, and then she stayed there for about 3 nights. She was really happy when I went to pick her up. I've also taken her for just doggy daycare, and she's always really happy to come back. It's really nice if you are a dog owner to be able to take your dog somewhere where they're not cooped up in a kennel. They're only let out once or twice a day, and the rest of the time they're in a cage. Catherine and Gustavo take very, very good care of all their dogs that are in their care. And that you don't find very many businesses like this in Leavenworth or in Lansing. So I ask that you really consider renewing their license. It would benefit not only the dogs, but those of us that really need it and care about our dogs and not putting them in cages all day long. Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak in favor?
Good evening, I'm Connie Joe, 1124 Ottawa Street, Leavenworth. This is a very interesting business, and she is a pioneer of a whole new concept that Leavenworth is not aware of. They do not know what it is, if you take more time, perhaps reading in your packet and researching what compels a dog care business versus a kennel. Also for the dog barking situation, again, it is only upon being prompted. Most of the time, the dogs do not bark. You can say hush, and they're done with it. And if I'm living in Leavenworth, there's a business down the street. It has operating hours as loud as it can be during operating hours. That's a business. This is a business also, which is not that loud and annoying. Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak in favor of this request? Favor?
I'm Ed Yarnig at 16429 Fort Riley Road. I'm a neighbor to the west. My property adjoins their property. The dog barking at my house is approximately 200 feet, 250 feet from their property line. It doesn't bother us. The barking is not severe or hasn't been. The yards, the area is kept up pretty clean. We have discussed several things with them if this goes through, what they're going to do as far as any erosion that comes from their property over onto our property. Excuse me. The driveway adjoins is just probably 5 to 8 feet from their property line, maybe 10. And if that erodes, then we'll have a problem. But other than that, they said they've got this under control, or will have it under control, so I have no problem with that. The dog droppings, they pick up all the time. I see them doing that. And she tells me that they are composting that, which is fine. I have no problem with it. Other than that, all I can say is they're doing a pretty good job. Any questions?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak in favor?
Good evening. I'm Emily Williams. I live at 5201 Southwest 26th Terrace in Topeka. I'm here to voice my support for Puppuccino's Doggy Daycare. Not only do they operate a reputable and local business, which benefits the city and the economy, they provide an invaluable service to members in the community. They are focused on the needs of this community. They provide a loving, professional, and affordable service dearly needed in the Leavenworth area, especially to those on Fort Leavenworth. The high volume of military families, both permanent and the fluctuating population, means fur babies often need a close, safe, and welcoming place to stay. Their location provides space and comfort and allows the De La Cruz family to provide the best care. If their ability to provide this service was taken away, it would be a detriment to Leavenworth, because responsible and loving daycare providers are few and far between. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor? You come up, and when he's through, you can go right on.
Good evening, Jeff Morgan, 45 6th Infantry Road, Fort Leavenworth. I've been bringing our dogs to Puppuccino's for close to a year. I just want to speak in support of a really great business and a great family. As mentioned, providing a really essential service that I can vouch for is very difficult to find, especially for us in the military when we don't know as many people in the community. We don't have those deep roots going back to have friends or family that can watch your pets when you travel. And we all travel at the same times, at the holidays in particular, the opportunities we get to go see those extended families that we don't have here locally. So Puppuccino's really is providing a great resource for the community and also for tying into military community. A few other things I just want to speak on from the report. The word kennel doesn't quite, I think when I think kennel, I think of cages, dog runs, and you instantly think noise and barking. And it really is about the opposite of what you get when you go out to the property out there on Fort Riley Road. The dogs usually are mostly quiet, running up and down through that space, which is enough space for them to get a full run and run laps and loops, certainly much bigger than the yard that I have at my house. So it really is kennel that falls in the technical terms, but does not describe what it is. So just like say thank you for the time and strongly ask you to consider granting this special use permit.
Thank you, sir.
I'm Amber Rivera. I live at 317 Highland Road in Lansing. I'm not a dog owner. I'm not a huge animal lover, but I am friends of Catherine and Gustavo. I've been out there multiple times. Being not a pet owner, watching them with their dogs, when they're outside, they are playing with them. They are giving them attention. They are talking to them, all of the things to keep them from just running around and barking. That's not the environment that the dogs are in. So I just wanted to kind of give that feedback from my perspective is anytime I've been out there, they're playing fetch, they're petting the dogs, they're talking to them, they're keeping them occupied. They're not just let out to roam and run and be free all day long. They interact with them and help keep that noise down a little bit. So that's just the feedback I had.
Thank you.
Sorry, guys. Good evening. My name is Hillary Aurelian, and my address is 2116 South 19th Street in Leavenworth. And I have 2 points to bring up. So first, I would like to echo what everybody else here has said, that the quality of care for the dogs that we bring over to Puppuccinos is just, it's something I haven't seen before. So I'm also an active duty service member, and I just moved here about a year and a half ago from Fort Hood. And I used to drop my dogs off at a place that I thought was, one of the best places. They had they had a kennel location, and they had a yard for the dogs to run around in. But when I was fortunate enough to read some reviews on Rover, and fellow armed service members had given rave reviews for a Puppuccino, I took my dogs over there just unannounced, and it's a lot better than what I've ever seen for my dogs. There's no kenneling. I bring a crate for my dogs because they're small, they've got a lot of energy, and they need just some focused friends, that they've got there between Catherine and Gustavo and the other dogs. But the lack of kenneling and the attention paid to each dog there is something you don't find a lot. If you have dogs yourself, if you drop them off at a boarding facility, nobody's going to text you during the day pictures of your dog so that you feel comfortable, unless you pay an extra service of some sort. And this they do out of the grace and the comfort, in their own home, but out of the care that they have for the dogs that are there. The other piece I want to bring up is a business model, right? So they spoke on their business model earlier, but small businesses in a community such as Leavenworth thrive on their ability to give back to the community, right? What they give back to the community has already been mentioned before. It's in the care and the quality and the ability to rely on them to take care of part of your family. And whether we want to say or not, all of our dogs are parts of our family. So at this point, I'm offering, twice a week, 2 members of my family to be taken care of by people that I didn't know 8 months ago. And they've done such a wonderful job. And I've recommended them to probably 10 or 12 people that I've never met before in my life. So just, I'd like you to continue to consider renewing their permit.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor of this request? We will now hear from individuals present wishing to speak in opposition to this request. Anyone here wishing to speak in opposition? Is there any additional information to be presented?
Nothing at this time.
The public comment portion of this hearing is now closed. Are there any questions or comments, commissioners? Jeff, we don't have any kennels in this small of a tract, correct?
Correct.
And And we do require 60 decibels at the property lines on all special use permits.
Yeah, that's one of the conditions that we usually put on there.
And I don't think that there's a way that they can get that smaller track, 60 decibels at the property line. Even one dog working. Any questions or comments, guys? Girls?
So it's just the size and the noise is really the only thing? Is the decibels the only thing that's in the rule book that would like really turn this down?
There is no rule book. It's individual case basis. So this is a special use permit, so you can put conditions on it. You can either recommend approval with conditions or recommend denial.
But didn't you say that it's usually recommended 60 decibels?
That's usually a condition that's put
Well,
on.
you make everybody else do it, too. And we also, screening is one thing, too. The runs are usually screened from neighbors and stuff like that is also a requirement usually.
And it may be a little bit of a contradiction or something we need to look at on the table of uses that we just met over a little bit ago, but it is allowed by special use permit in R1. So, you know.
No, it shouldn't be, yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying, there's a little bit of contradiction there, but, and I know we haven't adopted that table of uses yet, but it is.
R1 area could be bigger than an acre tract.
Right, but.
It could be a bigger tract.
It could be, but
Again,
it could also be a tract this size, too.
Well,
I
right,
think.
but we don't necessarily have to prove it if they don't meet all the conditions.
Right, yeah, yes.
Any other questions or comments? I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move that the proposed special use permit outlined in case DEV 19-103 be approved, that the findings on the golden factors as set forth in the staff report as adopted by the Planning Commission and as substantiated by the facts, testimony, and evidence presented be adopted by this board, and that the conditions set forth in the staff report be made part of this special use permit.
There is no,
You approve it? Or what'd you say?
I move that the proposed special permit be approved.
You approve.
there are no conditions.
We have no conditions, so we'll have to make conditions.
So we need direction from the commission to, we can work on the conditions and bring it back to you.
Yeah, we'd have to table it if we're going to move it forward.
They recommended denial, so
They
there are no.
recommend denial, so we'll either have to deny it or table it if we want to move forward with it.
Well, it needs to be tabled then.
So we need direction on what kind of conditions you would like to see.
I don't see that there's been, you got that many people standing up here on this, and no one's complaining about the noise or anything. I think even having conditions on this is not needed. That's my opinion.
And I agree. I also have an issue because we are almost punishing people for being on 1.3 acres. My house sits on 1.3 acres, and not that I would like I love dogs, but I don't want a dog kennel or a daycare center. These houses in this subdivision were platted years and years ago to the regulation. So it seems to me like we're going to say, no, well, you can't do it because your lot is too small, even though at the time the lot was fine, obviously, to do this. So I'm almost with you there, Terry, because I have a bit of a problem having a lot of support for something and us punishing them because the lot is too small.
And it's not a kennel. There's a big difference.
Yes,
If it was a kennel, I'd be saying, hey, not on my road. You've heard me say that before.
Okay, you want to redo your motion then?
No, I still want to be approved. It's either
Well,
approved
we're
or
gonna
tabled.
No
That's
conditions.
what we
We
need
can't
to do.
approve because we don't have conditions, so you either have to table it or deny it, right, Jeff? I mean, I don't want to.
Why
I mean,
do we
it's up
have
to the
that?
commission. If you want to recommend some conditions, we can add on to that. It's up to you.
I don't see that we need any conditions. I think we should go ahead and vote on this and vote for approval or vote no.
We got to have conditions. I mean, that's,
You gotta have.
there's got to be conditions.
Okay, what kind of conditions do
It's
you
your,
want?
it's your motion.
Okay, my conditions are that there are no required conditions because it apparently meets the satisfaction of the neighbors and nobody spoke against it.
Well, I think only one neighbor.
Table it.
So, but go ahead and make your motion, and we'll vote. Your motion is to approve it.
My motion is to approve it.
Okay. And
No
you
conditions,
second
I
it?
will second it with no
Okay,
conditions.
We have a motion on the floor with a second to approve it. And hearing the motion, and Jeanette seconded.
Yes.
Is there a limit to number of years? Is there a limit to number of years for the special use permit?
Usually do.
Whatever the normal is on that.
But we don't have any conditions,
We
so
don't have any
can't.
conditions. We're approving it with no conditions. They can do it
5
forever
years.
and never, and have as many dogs as they want.
Well, yes, I would say not more than 12, obviously, and maybe 5 years.
I like that.
I think you should also say something about your fence screening, like we were talking about earlier. I mean, they're worried about it being too small. I mean, some screening.
You've got fenced, it's all fenced anywhere the dogs are going to be, right? They cannot get out of the fenced area, is that correct?
You have double gates as well. You have to go through 2 gates to get out. So even if I open the gate and they run out, there's a second gate.
Okay. Okay, and then the conditions are
5 years.
5 years,
And not more than 12
not
dogs.
more than 12 dogs. Would that work?
Okay. So we have the motion on the floor to approve case number 19-0-103, special use for dog kennel, Poconos Dog Kennel, for 5 years and no more than 12 dogs, and no other conditions. Okay, you seconded?
I did.
Okay, everybody, is there any discussion? Okay, have a roll call vote. John Matthews,
No.
and your reason?
I think it needs more structure in the motion than what's before us at this time.
Terry Gronkowski,
Yes.
Mark Denny,
No.
and
I think we should table this and turn it back into staff. I agree with Terry that I don't believe this is a kennel. I think it kind of falls outside of our normal definitions, but we have to have rules. I mean, we have to have regulations. We're going to have the Wild West out there if we just approve stuff without it. So I think we should approve it in some way, but not as proposed in the motion.
Alex.
I'm also no. I think I think it should be tabled, but we should talk to them about expanding their fence, since the county doesn't think it's large enough. Also, isn't there usually impact fees on this?
Yeah, there would be impact fees.
So is that something we'd set? Because that wouldn't have been set in that.
Something we have to do.
So,
Okay. Will Smith?
I'm gonna vote no too, although I think it's a fantastic business for the county. I do think we need better conditions written up.
Rocky Hempel?
No. I would like to see some screening from the road, and I think it's a workable condition, but I think we need some conditions on this thing. And I'd be willing to listen to another motion that said, let's table it, send it back, let's sit down and think about what we really want.
Jeanette Holdeman?
Yes.
Jeff Speak?
No.
until we see some conditions outlining.
And I vote no, and, it sounds like a wonderful operation, and I'm really great on it, but I will not treat it different than any other special use we have. We've always required noise and screening and other things for kennels, and I'm not going to make an exception on this one or any other one as far as I'm concerned. So the motion did not pass. It was 2-7. Will we let it go, or do we want another motion?
You have another motion.
Make a motion that
Good
we...
evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. I believe it was earlier voiced by perhaps several members of the planning commission that the matter be tabled so that appropriate conditions could be placed. In that case, an appropriate motion might be to move to table the matter to your December 11th hearing with staff directed to submit appropriate conditions for your consideration.
So moved.
Move to table? Okay.
Second.
Give it to her, road to be. Terry Bukowski made the motion. And Jeanette seconded. Okay. And the motion is to table case number DEV 19-103, consideration of a special use for dog kennels, Papachinos, I'm sorry, kennel to, I guess, next month. That'll be
11th.
December 11th. Okay. Is there any further discussion? Have a roll call vote. And this is the table. John Matthews.
Yes.
Okay, and Terry Bukowski.
Yes.
Okay, Mark Denny.
Yes.
Alex DeMauro.
Yes.
Will Smith. Yes. Rocky Hempel.
Yes.
Jeanette Holdeman.
Yes.
Jeff Speed.
Yes.
And I'm going to vote yes, but I don't see where too much can change my mind, but let's see what they come up with. So it passed 9-0 to table to next month. Okay.
I know we tabled this
Can I ask a quick question?
You can ask them afterwards.
but we never did this one.
Pardon me?
You can ask the
No, it's
staff
tabled, I
afterwards.
think.
Who's the staff?
There's only one.
Case number DEV 19-104, consideration of special use permit disposal of waste material, landfill, clean rubble only for Wisbig landfill, and a tract of land located in section 4, township 9 south, route 22 east of the 6 p.m., Leavenworth County, Kansas. Also, request submitted by Carol Risbig Trust, also known as 16698 Springdale Road. It requires a public hearing. Public comment portion is limited to 3 minutes per person. Staff report.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. This is case number DEV-19-104. This is a request for a renewal. There have been no changes proposed for this renewal. This business has been in operation since 2009. It is for Lexico to dispose of clean rubble on this property. It's clean rubble only. It's not trash or anything at all like that. Trucks typically enter this site between 10 and 20 times per week. There are times when there will be no trucks entering the site. They have all of their appropriate permits through the state of Kansas. Again, this is for a clean rubble landfill, not a trash landfill. Staff is supportive of this request. We are recommending that it be approved for a period of 10 years. Mr. Cos gave me a call today, and we talked about the traffic impact fee, which is the memo that I gave you. Previously, they have not been assessed a traffic impact fee. This is on a state highway. However, the policy has always been that traffic impact fees be assessed on all special use permits. Those are the resolutions that are also attached, regardless of whether or not it's on a state highway. The thinking being that typically you are using county roads as you're coming or going. It's not only the road that the business is actually on. Staff is currently working with the Board of County Commissioners and coming up with a uniform traffic impact fee. So our recommendation would be, we have assessed it on this permit. Our recommendation is that we leave it up to the Board of County Commissioners on whether or not it's paid or it's waived. And that for right now, we go with what the standard policy is, and that is that the traffic impact fee be assessed. I believe Mr. Cos is here and will answer any questions that you may have, as will we.
I saw it online, but I don't see it in my packet.
I don't have it either.
Did you have it in your packet?
I don't.
Steve,
It's
it's
missing.
stapled, it's like reversed on, they're stapled to the,
On the back of 19105.
it got stapled by mistake.
1905, it's on the
Well, I saw it online, so I read it.
The last few pages.
It's stapled to one of the other applications.
Oh, okay. Oh, there it is. Yeah, there it is. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
All right, any questions of staff on this?
So just to make sure I understand, Crystal, so you're recommending that we leave that traffic impact fee in there and then let the county commissioners? Okay.
Yes.
Mess this all up now. Okay. Upon opening the public comment portion of this hearing, those of you who wish to speak either for or against this item upon recognition would give your name and address, time to begin to speak. This is necessary since the public hearing is being recorded. The public comment portion of this hearing is now open. Will the applicant please come forward?
Thank you for hearing me. Greg Cos, President of Lexico, 5037 South 4th Street, Leavenworth, Kansas. This is a renewal of our special use permit. We're probably one of the few companies that actually go through and get a permit to fill in the county, but we've been doing it for 10 years. I think we've had a very minimal issues with this site. I would add that probably 95% of the material that goes into this site comes up 92 Highway from Fort Leavenworth or from the city of Leavenworth. So most of it's coming from the east, across the state highway. It's not coming across any of the county roads. I did talk to Crystal about the traffic impact fee. I'm fine just leaving it up to the county commission because I believe they would have to probably waive it anyway. So I would be happy to answer any questions or any concerns that you guys might have with the site.
Did you see all the requirements in here? And we usually have them on the screen up here, but we don't. There is.
Working?
They're similar to what we've had in the past.
Are they exactly the same?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're exactly.
Except for the traffic impact fee.
Right.
And the number of years?
Yeah,
Yeah,
they
it's 10
recommended
years.
10 as opposed to
10
5.
years instead of, I think it probably was 5 before, so you got 10 years instead of 5.
And the site is monitored by a guard dog. She doesn't let anybody in there, plus we have cameras on the site too. So if there was any question, we've got pictures of people coming in there and we monitor it. I live a quarter of a mile from the site too, so it's monitored very heavily.
Okay. Any questions of the applicant?
And you agree with all the conditions set forth?
Yes, sir.
What do you call clean rubble?
It can be dirt, rock, like any type of rock, crushed rock, asphalt, or concrete. No wood, no building materials, because that falls under C&D, construction, demolition, landfill, like what's out in East. And of course, no trash or anything like that. So it's just rock, dirt, concrete, and asphalt.
Natural materials.
Natural materials.
Okay, any other questions of the applicant? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
We'll now hear from individuals wishing to speak in favor of this request. Anyone here wishing to speak in favor of this request?
Good evening, Ben Stutler. I live at 16702 Springdale Road, and this site is next door to my property. And it runs, probably I have the most property for the whole thing to cover. We've had no problems out there for the 10 years it's been established, so I have no problem with it being extended for 10 years.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor of this request? In favor? We'll now hear from individuals present wishing to speak in opposition to this request. Anyone here wishing to speak in opposition? Is there any additional information to be presented?
Nothing at this time, Chairman.
The public portion of this hearing is now closed. Are there any questions or comments, commissioners?
I did. On the staff recommendation number 3, the TIF recommended is 8,000, et cetera, et cetera. That's what's going to go to the commissioner to decide if that's the right TIF.
Correct.
Was there a reason that it wasn't paid the first time, or?
I don't know, the staff changed and also the Public Works Administration changed, so I don't know what happened at that time.
So is the county road, or saying that it's on a state road is the only reason that it would be waived?
Yeah, that's the reason.
This time now?
Yeah, that's something that we're looking at. We're trying to create a policy on traffic impact fees. So that's why we're leaving it to the Board of County Commission to make that determination.
Any other questions?
I'd like to ask the applicant, and I'm sorry I didn't ask it when you was up here, but you can just tell me from wherever you're sitting. All the traffic is from the state highway, correct? I was out to the site today.
I would
So-
say probably 90 to 95% of it is.
Okay.
It's from the state highway. Occasionally, a truck is going to come off of 20th Street, come down to Compton, and take a shortcut.
I was that person today. So,
But most of it's coming up Spruce and 92.
okay, thank you, sir.
Any other questions or comments, or I'll entertain a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move that the proposed special use permit outlined in case DEV 19-104 be approved, that the staff findings on the golden factors as set forth in staff report and substantiated by the facts, testimony, and evidence be presented, be adopted by the board, and that conditions set forth in staff report made part of this special use permit, with the exception of the TIF. But I would also like to recommend that the county commissioners do away with the TIF on the state highway.
I'll second the motion.
And that is doing away with the TIF. without-
That is correct.
Okay.
That is doing away with it?
Yes.
You wouldn't
On the
wanna-
state highway.
You wouldn't want to just leave it in there and let the Board of County Commissioners decide that, or, which is what the staff was wanting, and let that be their call.
They're going to decide it anyway.
Right, I mean,
Yeah.
They're going to decide it one way or the other.
right, they're going to decide one way or the other.
Okay.
My only thing with that, Rocky, is that we start making policy through,
Good point.
I don't
Okay,
know.
that's fine. Okay.
And I agree with
Leave the
Mr.
TIF
Cobbs,
in the
they're
motion.
probably
Leave the TIF in
gonna-
the motion, we'll let the commissioners.
Yeah, and they're probably going to waive it anyway, more than likely.
Okay.
We've done it, in the past, we have always done it on any road, so I don't think it should be a policy we do for everybody, not just for this one.
Okay, that's fine. I'll amend my motion to that.
I'll accept it on the second.
Okay. Okay, we have a motion on the floor with a second to approve case number DEV 19-104, special use permit for disposal of waste material, landfill, clean rubble only for Risbig landfill with staff recommendations, 1 through, I believe there was 20 of them. Is there any further discussion? A roll call vote. John Matthews?
Yes.
Terry Burkowski?
Yes.
Mark Denny?
Yes.
Alex Demaro?
Yes.
Will Smith? Yes. Rocky Hempel?
Yes.
Jeanette Holloman?
Yes.
Jeff Spink?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Motion carries 9-0. The Board of County Commissioners will consider this item on December 4th, 9 a.m. at the Leavenworth County Courthouse. Any person wishing to file a protest petition must contact the Planning Zoning Office. Protest petitions must be filed with Leavenworth County within 2 weeks of this meeting. To be valid, the protest petitions must be signed by owners of 20% of the land area in the notification area. December 4th, right here, same place. I think probably been here before. And we are on our last item. Case number DEV 19-105, consideration application to rezone a parcel of land in the rural residential R5 land use to rural residential RR 2.5 land use on a tract of land located in section 15, township 10, south, range 22 east, at 6 p.m. at Leavenworth County, also known as 22525 155th Street, submitted by Joe Herring on behalf of Eagle Creek LLC. Requires a public hearing, public comment limited 3 minutes per person. Staff report.
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, this is case DEV 19-105, a request for rezoning by Mr. Joe Herring. He's with Herring Survey. The property is located at 22525 155th Street, just south of Fairmont Road, and it's on 155th Street. It has like 57 acres. Just to give you a history on this, some of you already heard this case with the last few years. An application for rezoning of the subject parcel was submitted to the Planning Office on March 12th, 2018, and it came before the Planning Commission on May 9th, 2018. And the Planning Commission made a recommendation of denial to the Board of County Commissioners. The Board of County Commissioners heard this case on February 20th, and they also denied the request at that time. Since then, the board has changed, and we have new direction from the board. So the applicant went back to the board and asked for a waiver of the 12-month requirement for the next submittal, and the board waived that requirement. So that's why this is before you today. Again, the staff is not making a recommendation at this time because of the fact that we are going through the comprehensive plan process. So, we're having new direction from the board, and they would like to see more smaller acre lots within the county. So that's why we're not making a recommendation, but the Planning Commission may, and you may recommend approval or denial to the Board of County Commissioners.
All right, any questions of staff? Okay, upon opening the public comment portion of the hearing, those of you who wish to speak either for or against this item, upon recognition, we gave a name and address. You can begin to speak. This is necessary since the public hearing is being recorded. The public comment portion of this hearing is now open. Will the applicant please come forward?
Joe Herring, Herring Surveying, 315 5th Street. Good evening again. Jeff pretty much summed it up that, we did go back to the board and ask for a waiver to get this back in front of you, and that's why we're here. And that was their decision to bring it back. And some things have changed, direction of the board. One of the major criteria that was a hurdle at our last meeting was spot zoning. I believe that the board, through discussion with planning and zoning staff, that it's no longer spot zoning. It is contiguous. We have zoning 2.5 acres on the east side of the property that abuts at the center line of the road or the section line and can continue west. The factors that are here, character to the neighbor, it is rural, it is does have agricultural. There are 66 parcels, 35 are zoned 2.5 acres or less in this this section. There are several, there's 20 more between 5 and 10 acres. So it does have a mixed use. The corner of it is, the northeast corner is zoned business, and I believe there's at least one or maybe two businesses being operated out in this area, maybe even adjacent to the property. We talked about spot zoning, suitability. The property is within an area for rural residential. It is on a main street headed into Baser. Usually on your main streets, you don't reserve it for agriculture, which was another issue that comes up in item 7, the conformance to the comprehensive plan being ag preserve. Through discussion with staff, all the comp plan meetings, the future comp plan meetings, rural residential 5 acres, not true ag preserve. That was an agreement that, that's really not an agricultural tract of land. If you wanted to preserve it for agriculture, it needs to be larger. This was more of a development preserve. The old comp plan is old, it's dated, it's over 10 years old, which we talked about that possibly being obsolete. It's being updated. For those, and many of the people that have stayed behind for this part have been part of the comp plan that's coming up. Much like I disagree using the old one, I disagree using the new one yet because it's not approved. But if you attended that meeting and pressed on the thin paper that they had drawn on, you could see what was behind it. And this property is projected to be R3 DU, which is 3 units per acre. And for that to happen, requires the city of Baser to get involved, requires annexation. That is not what my clients want. They do not want city of Baser to annex this property. They do not want to run sewers out there. They just don't want that. They want 22 houses in a rural residential 2.5 acre zone to benefit this neighborhood. The property was listed for a week, possibly 2, before a contract was entered into. It was a very quick contract. It sold very fast. The gain to the property, 22 homes. The gain to the county is 22 taxable entities, which, the county commissioners, in discussion that has been with staff, with this commission, is they're promoting houses. They want more houses, more rooftops to get businesses into our county. I don't think that's a surprise to anybody. That's pretty much it, Most of you were here during the last process. I'm here to ask any questions or answer any questions, and I would ask that if there are any concerns that come up during the portions of the neighbors, and I do respect their opinion, that I can have the chance to address any of them. Thank you. Any questions?
Questions of the applicant?
How will waste be managed? Are they going to be on septic or what?
It's not official yet. We're still working on it.
I was looking for this area.
Do you want the GIS or do you want,
Well, if you got the GIS, but
is that what you want or do you want something else?
GIS from, if we could, from like the May of 2018 meeting. Is that possible? Just so we can get an idea of this parcel as compared to other parcels in the area.
I don't think it's changed. Since 18, much.
Yeah, it hasn't changed much last year.
Yeah, I can't. So there's the zoning turned on and I can zoom in or out.
Yeah, zoom out. Yeah, this is what I was looking for. Thank you.
Right here.
Most of those
Is that
lots
the
are that
portion
one
on this
subdivision,
side?
planned unit development. Are going to be most of those. Otherwise, they're all, except for
Yeah.
a few, there's going to be bigger tracts.
Which one is it then?
It's on this side. Still.
Mr. Herring said most of it, but I think only 4 of us were here when we heard this. So over half the commissioners haven't seen this area.
No, it's before me.
I think it was just
Came on in August.
before, right.
Is that going to be There's going to have to be roadways put into that.
Correct, there'll be a road, a single entrance road that will be put in that will meet the access management policy of the county.
And how many houses are going to go into that?
There'll be a total of 22 proposed houses on 55 acres. 57 acres.
57. Yeah, 57, I think it is.
Septic, water will have to be run by the developer. Street will have to be built by the developer.
Water District 1.
Right, but that'll be at the
Plenty
developer.
of water and fire hydrants won't be a problem.
That'll be up to the developer and the water district to determine that.
Any other questions with applicant? Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll now hear from individuals present wishing to speak in favor of this request. Favor, and remember, limited to 3 minutes.
Something about it being in an agricultural
My name is John
corridor.
Bonet. I'm part of this. I wanted to be the developer of the property. My address is 16391 Fairmount Road, sorry. I just wanted to say, I know the people that live around that area, we have some opposition to it, and I think the understanding is just a little conflicted there as far as what they're expecting. What we're trying to do is maintain a rural community as much as possible. The city has already approached us, and we've in fact had at least 5 meetings with the mayor and the staff of the planning department in Basehor City. They want to annex that, as most of the people that are opposed to this are also opposed to the annexation and the plan that Basehor has to control the growth area around Basehor, and I know there's a lot of opposition to that. I am right on board with that, and we are exactly on their team and are trying to establish a buffer between the density that is the city of Basehor with the small 10,000 square foot lots and what they want to preserve, which is the rural life that they have. And I appreciate that. That's what I live on myself. I just know that 5 acres is not enough for a farm. I know that the county doesn't even want, like Joe just mentioned, you know, they're wanting more rooftops, 3 per acre. That's, you know, 12,000, what, 14,000 per lot. We're trying to get less lots on a larger parcel of acres. We're trying to get more of that freedom of movement and more rural lifestyle. I just think 2.5 is the best option that we have between what it is now, which it will never be, won't always be what it is now. Growth will happen whether we like it or not. It's just a matter of whether we wait for the city to annex it and then all that will go on there is city lots, or we do it now and do it in an area that, in a way that we can protect what lifestyle that they're wanting there and what I want myself. And I think 2.5 acres would be a great use for that property. I know we could do some nice building there and create an environment that people will love to be in. I just don't think that's been communicated well enough, but that when we approached the city, we asked, you know, they were trying to annex us and wanted us to voluntarily annex in, and they would bring sewers to us. Well, we didn't want sewers. We didn't want that many lots. In order to pay for the sewers, we'd have to have 120, 130 lots. We didn't want that. We asked if they would accept 2.5 acres. They would not. We asked if they'd take 2. They would not. We asked if we brought sewers out there and kept them at 1.5. We tried negotiating a larger lot with them, and through all those meetings, we never reached an agreement because what the city wants is density, and that's what the neighbors don't want. That's what we don't want. So anyway, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor of this request? In favor? Now hear from individuals present wishing to speak in opposition to this request. In opposition.
Good evening. Jim Seaman, 22207 155th Street. This has been an issue that's been before us for going on 2 years now. And these folks here have stated their reasons on numerous occasions why it should not be accepted. In this body last year, it was denied. And we're grateful for that. Speaking as a resident who lived within 1,000 feet of this property, previous gentleman, Mr. Benet, said communication was not well enough. That's true. Surrounding landowners didn't even know the place was for sale until a deal was made, so that denied them the opportunity to be able to keep this, increase their holdings, have a larger place, and still maintain the rural atmosphere is what our goal is. We don't want to see any development there, but since it's zoned R5, then that's pretty much what we're stuck with. And I'm here to express not only my opposition, but to speak for all those present and many more who were unable to be here tonight, how much we oppose this plan for the change. And how many times are we going to have to devote our time to come up here and listen to this same request, which has already been denied twice? When this present body or your predecessors denied this early last year, it was sent then to the county commission to be heard. And that happened on May 29, 2018. There was enough people here at that meeting that we had standing room only. We came up in good faith. Some people had to take off work to be here because this is important to us. This is our neighborhood. We don't want to see this sort of thing come to fruition. Well, the first announcement made from this podium at that meeting was that the item had been removed from the agenda. How did this happen? Because the Mayor Baser requested the item be removed so that he could speak with the developers. And our neighborhood doesn't even lie within the city of Baser. They've been trying to push through this comprehensive plan knowing that the majority of the county residents are dead set against any control of the city, or by the city, and we've expressed our opinion on more than one occasion. What I don't understand is how someone who lives in a different area with no authority over our neighborhood was allowed to have this removed from the agenda before we had a chance to express our opposition to it. And the law requires notification to only those property owners whose property lied within 1,000 feet of this proposed project. So obviously the law considers only the opinion of these few close neighbors. Why would an outsider be granted this request affecting our community? Our community should have the right to oppose this and have the final say in what happens in our neighborhood. Could it be that the only developers proposing this project will make a profit, but those who are influential in the city of Baser, whose relatives and friends would also profit from related development projects? Could this be viewed as conflict of interest? The place hadn't been zoned yet. We knew through rumor mill after this happened that the city of Baser wanted high density. They don't care about us. They just want to see more houses. Well, more houses mean more taxes, which is good for the county. But what puzzles me is, as an example, last year there were between 300 and 400 houses built in the county. We're looking at hundreds of thousands of dollars or more than that in added revenue, which is beneficial to the county. But as a result of more houses being built, expensive houses, our houses were faced with anywhere from an 8 to 24% increase in valuation. My house is 100 years old. Why should I have to pay more taxes because somebody in Linwood built a house at $300,000 or $400,000? So, anyway.
Time is up. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition?
Good evening. Diane Stewart, 22241, 155th Street. We are voicing our opposition to the proposed rezoning. This is the third rezoning hearing we have been summoned to. The first was April 17, 2018. The final vote was to be held on May 9, 2019, after many of us took off work sat through the issues which did not pertain to us, and much of our time. Joe Herring stepped up to the microphone and stated, "The mayor of Basehor reached out to myself and the developers in the rezone application that is in front of you and asked for a sit-down meeting with those two developers. They agreed that the sit-down meeting, and I have spoke to Jeff Joseph, and we're asking that the item be pulled from the agenda, and it was." Question: the mayor of Basehor has no authority or jurisdiction over county residents. Can you please explain to us why the mayor of Basehor was allowed to table that issue? And it was again brought up on February 20th, and the request was denied. According to the article printed in the Basehor Sentinel on 8/3/12, Suburban Water purchases some of its water from BPU. If Suburban Water cannot completely supply its current customers without resorting to purchasing water from BPU, why would you allow them to put 150 housing division in? Many of us are on well water. We like our well water. We've learned that some banks are not writing loans for home mortgages if the residence is on well water and they are located within an area where they can hook up to city water. We do not want to hook up to city water and do not want to be forced to hook up to city water. The owners of Eagle Crossing are not taking care of their property located at 225 155th Street. Our property is adjacent to their property. The portion of their property which runs along our dam collects water. There is a pipe which extends on their property and runs under our dam. They have failed to keep this pipe clear of debris, allowed the pipe on their property to get plugged, which has caused our dam to erode. We sent Dan Lynch and John Bonet certified letters on June 4th, informing them of the problem and politely asking them to take care of the problem. We waited to receive a response from them, but neither entity had the neighborly consideration to contact us in regard to the problem. On June 23rd, my husband took it upon himself to walk in the mud, water and muck to clear out the debris from the pipe, which is located on their property, so the water would be able to run through the pipe and hopefully stop the water from rising and eroding more of the soil from the dam. And there's a little bit of video. This took several hours to do, and I know we don't have several hours. But just to prove to you, we had to go in there and clear the debris out ourselves. My husband allocated his time to me. On June 26th, they called.
Let's hear from him first. Is he here?
Did you allocate your time to me, Dave?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, all right, that's fine then. Another 3 minutes.
On June 26th, Dave called Dan Lynch and spoke to him about the dam erosion problem, and Dan told Dave that he went on his property to clear the pipe himself, and Dan said that was fine. He had no problem with that. Dan told him that the dam repair would be John Bonet and that Dave needs to call John Bonet. And Dan gave Dave John's phone number. Dave asked Dan how he could do 2.5 acre lots when we are zoned at 5 acres on this side of the road. Dan told him he could make money on 5 acre lots, but Brewer wants high density homes there. Dan told Dave he understands how we don't want a housing addition next to us. Whenever he sees property go up for sale by his residents, he buys it so he doesn't have to live next to a housing development. Dan Lynch, being an owner of the property, should have informed his partner, John Bonet, to take care of the pipe and the debris and the dam erosion. He should not have told Dave to contact John. Dan Lynch and John Bonet are not responsible property owners. As of today, the problem has not been repaired. The issue alone should deny them the rezoning request, as they have proven they are irresponsible property owners. Another concern over the housing development is the Sherrod Pond. This is a deep pond. They are irresponsible property owners. If a housing development is allowed, they have proven they will not be able to keep children from trespassing on our property, going to the pond, getting hurt, or even drowning. We would then be sued. We strongly urge you not to reward irresponsible property owners and the request for rezoning now or in the future. Thank you.
Just to clarify, Suburban is not the water district that would be serving. It's going to be water district number 1. So.
Yes, I heard that, but I thought I'll keep my bases covered just in case. We did hear other rumors about things and which turned out not to be true, so I thought I'd cover my bases.
All right. Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition?
I'm tired of wearing out tires. My name is John Saka, 15822 Hollingsworth Road. I purchased your planning book the last time I was here. I might as well have just kept the money in my pocket and give you guys back your book, because nobody's staying with the book. You're all using real estate grabbers to grab the ground. Well, it butts up against my ground, and so does Saddle Creek, the addition you were talking about. The county didn't make them put my fences back when they tore them down, and shoved all their trash and dumped their concrete when they were building Saddle Creek. So I had to take and get dozer myself and straighten up my own property. But I still didn't get the fence back. I don't believe that it would be beneficial to the community to have this addition in there. And since my ground is between the two additions, I am agriculture. I have over 40 acres. I raised cattle and hogs there. I paid taxes on the hogs so that they can't say I didn't raise them when we had to pay taxes on our animals. And I can always bring the hogs back, and we can have fun between the county and the people that want to move out there. But you can understand that I'm tired. Your planning commission screwed up with Saddle Creek, the property line. It took me 5 years and $1,700 to straighten out the property line and get it put in. It didn't even read the same as when I bought the ground. And I got it straightened out finally back to where it belonged, which gave me little pieces of Saddle Creek because the property line was wrong. And you wouldn't accept, the county wouldn't accept the survey I had from the original surveyor. Then I filed a complaint with the state, and the state told me that a survey is just an opinion. So with opinions and plans and lies told to people, I'm against the thing being done, and I will do what I can to stop it.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition?
Thank you for your time. I'm Charles Nichols. I live north of this development where it's going in. 22721 155th is where I live. I've been living there since 2011. And already on 155th Street, if you guys are familiar, the traffic is outrageous. People are driving way over the speed limit. You know, it's dangerous as it is, and they want to put 20 more houses in there. 10 is enough. I mean, 10 houses in that lot would be sufficient. You try to go to Kelly's to eat now, you stand in line to wait to go to Kelly's to eat if you guys are familiar with that. Baser's growing like crazy. I didn't move to Overland Park specifically because I wanted to live in the county, and they're trying to turn Baser into Overland Park. I don't know how they're going to support the schools or anything because there's so many people moving out there. It's going to be overcrowded. The school's going to have to close or get bigger. I mean, this is just nonsense. People don't need that much money. You know, 10 houses, that's enough money. 20 houses is ridiculous. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition?
Hello, Trent Peter, 15805 Fairmount Road. First of all, I appreciate all you do. I know it's a daunting task, and it's crazy somebody's got to do it, so I really appreciate all of your time. I don't have, obviously we've been here a lot the last couple of years. I don't have a lot of frustrations. We moved on the 20 acres thinking it'd always be 5 acres, but I get Leavenworth County is growing. And I'm not necessarily against development, I just think developing in the correct way or fashion is important. A couple of things that I see a concern is 155th and Fairmount Road. We've seen a number of fatalities there and some crashes, so if this happens, I think the county needs to do something, whether it's a flashing stoplight or something, just to notify people, just because I don't want that to be myself or my kids. Secondly, we do have like a 4-acre pond on our acreage, and we live really close. My house is right by the property affected. So I'm actually meeting someone with K-State Forestry there next Tuesday, just to make sure we can preserve that pond, because I don't want to take out a $100,000 loan to fill my pond in because of the development right next to me. So things of that nature is my personal concerns, but then 155th and Fairmount. Again, not necessarily against it. I do think with the new, obviously we're kind of stuck in limbo right now with the new comprehensive package coming through. I think you still have to go by the 2008 one today. And that's why I think waiting until this new comprehensive package that the Board of County Commissioners actually approves might change this current 2.5 acres versus 5-acre zoning. So who knows what that will withhold or entail down the road, but I just wanted to give a couple of statements out there for us. So I appreciate your time.
Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition?
I'm Twyla Clam. I live at 22975 163rd Street. My family and I own the half-mile section across the road that is totally agriculture. I'm very concerned about 22 new houses going in. My person who farms the property has already been ran into by somebody who was not paying attention when he was trying to turn into the property. When you take big equipment on the roads, traffic is a problem. And when you add 22 houses onto that road, it's going to be a bigger problem. It's zoned for 5 acres. I think it should stay that way. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition? In opposition? Is there any additional information to be present?
Nothing more to add, Chairman.
The comment portion of this hearing is now closed. Are there any questions or comments, commissioners?
Is it true we're still supposed to follow the 2008 comprehensive?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's zoned 5 acres. That's what the other one is, but I think we should wait till the new one comes up and see what it's going to happen.
Jeff, do we have any idea when that's going to be?
March or April of next year.
So we got a ways to go. Well, it depends on your perspective as a developer. It's a long time.
But that's what you remember. They bought it knowing it's 5 acre zone.
Right.
So
You're right.
They had no reason to expect that it would have been anything but 5 acres at the time they bought it. You know, that was their wish and that was their desire, but that's the way it was. We're so close with the comprehensive plan, and I don't know what's going to come of that area. But I look at it, if county commissioners think that this should be 2.5 acre zoning, then it should be all 2.5 acre zoning, and not just one track. And forget about the spot zoning. And I say, let's see what the comprehensive plan says. I think the map that I saw at the last meeting, and some of you, you were there, and you were there, and both of you, Rocky was there. The map that they had there showed it was 3 acres per, three houses, 3 units per acre. Yeah. What the map showed. But their comment was that the city will never be able to go there if they do 2.5 acre tracts and stuff like that. That slows down the process. I'm sure someday, I don't think I'll see it, and probably nobody in this room will see it, that will be all Basehor City to Fairmont Road. I have no doubt about that. It actually goes to Fairmont Road already to the east. Basehor goes to Fairmont Road on the east side there.
Yes, it does.
I think that'll be a long ways off before it's going to be there. Like I say, I'm sure I'll never see it happen, but I think we just need to wait till the comprehensive plan. That's my opinion on it, and see what they say. And if they say it should be all 2.5 acres, it's done. If they say no, then that's also done.
So what?
That's my opinion.
What are you saying? Table it until the new comprehensive plan comes out?
I would say,
Or we can take that recommendation to the board.
yeah. That'd be my thought, but, I mean, we all need to speak.
Have you guys rezoned anything from this size to anything smaller since they've been here?
We have not spot zoned anything that I know of since you've been here, have you? No, I don't think so.
Yeah, we usually try to follow the comprehensive plan.
I know
That's,
we had some that even made a lot more sense than this, and we did not.
Well, and this made sense to me personally, if we were going to do one, because 2.5 is right across the street.
Right.
So if we were ever going to do one, I mean, I made the argument back at our first meeting that, in my opinion, it wasn't spot zoning, but I still voted to deny it because it wasn't.
Well,
I
I
mean, it was
feel
on,
if it should be 2.5, then everybody else should be 2.5 on that side of the road. So
Right.
why don't we just do it all then? That's my thought. And if it's not what we want to do, then let's not do any of it.
right. Well, and that's why I voted back then to deny, because even though it was butted right up against 2.5 acre,
And hey, the comp plan might recommend that. I don't know. I mean, it's very possible they will. Very possible they won't, because it depends on how they want to cooperate with see that area grow. If they want that to be the city of Basehor someday, then they probably will not rezone that to 2.5 acres.
If you deny it, how long does it take to resubmit?
I don't think we should necessarily need to deny it. I think we just need to table it until we have the comprehensive plan.
Well, and I'm just trying to get a time frame.
it's 1 year.
1 year.
1 year, and that,
If it gets denied by the Board of County Commission, they have to wait 1 year, unless a waiver is granted. That's what they did this time. The board granted a waiver to
Well,
resubmit.
They waived it because the board changed, right? Yes. Yeah. Because the same board who voted on it before wasn't the one that voted on it, is going to vote on it now. So that's why they said that was the change.
and if we
There was
table,
no other change.
and if we table it waiting for the comprehensive plan, how long is that then?
Well, until the comprehensive plan comes.
Which is
Spring.
Yeah, my recommendation is if you're tabling it, we still would like to take it to the board because they wanted to review it.
Yeah, and they might see differently.
yeah, the way I read it is they're wanting us to approve this. That's my opinion on it, and or otherwise they wouldn't have granted the waiver, and so I agree with Jeff, is that if we table it, and I don't know how procedurally that works, and normally we table it, it doesn't go to the Board of County Commissioners, but if we vote to table it, I mean, they're gonna want to see it, in my opinion.
David, involved in this, on the tabling, what they brought it back to us. What was the reason for it? I guess that was my thought, it's just because it was a new board.
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, my recollection of the specifics as to why this came back to you is quite frankly a little cloudy at this point in time. I really can't tell you.
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion that case number DEV 19-105 be tabled for till a further date.
We need to do more than that, just table it for a further date.
Well, would you like us to take it to the commission? Is that needs to be,
I don't see a problem myself. Let them make a decision on it.
Throw it back to them.
so the planning commission recommendation would be that you would like to see the new comprehensive plan before making a decision.
Correct.
Right now, off the comprehensive plan, we just put the doggy daycare back for reconsideration because it doesn't fit the comprehensive plan right now. This doesn't fit the comprehensive plan, so why move forward with it? Does that make sense?
Well, the other one is a special use permit, so that's,
Well,
doesn't have, yeah.
It's still part of the comprehensive plan.
No.
Well,
Big
but it's
different
still,
issue.
no, but it's part of the comprehensive plan, isn't it?
No.
Not a
Well,
special
it's
use
a
permit.
Special use isn't part of the comprehensive plan.
Yeah, see,
This is, but special use isn't part of this comprehensive plan.
Yeah, these uses are allowed with a special use permit. That's,
Yeah, right.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
may I make an inquiry of Mr. Joseph?
okay.
If the planning commission should make either a recommendation of denial or approval, I'm not certain procedurally how they simply pass it up to the Board of County Commissioners saying, you decide. So I think procedurally, a motion needs to be made to either approve or to deny, and depending on the action taken, then that could proceed to the Board of County Commissioners. I think just to pass it up without any recommendation of denial or approval is problematic.
Well, Mr. Van Peros, could we, I mean, if we wanted to table it, because until the comprehensive plan came out, is that an option?
That's your prerogative.
Okay.
But he just got done saying that it'd be a problem.
But then it would not be going to the county
Right, I mean, it would go
commission.
nowhere.
It would sit here until it comes out, and then we could decide and then send it to them.
So you're saying our choices is to approve it or deny it?
if it
Well,
comes forward.
no, your options are, as Commissioner Denny pointed out, you could table it to a date. I would suggest set it for a date certain, at least for a review. You've got a lot of people here who've been coming up here at least on 3 prior occasions. You might want to give them at least, even if it's only to continue it again, at least a date certain that they would know nothing would happen prior to that date. You could recommend denial and pass it to the Board of County Commissioners. You could recommend approval and pass it to the Board of County Commissioners.
Because otherwise it's not
I
going.
hate to deny it, but I also don't want to approve it at this time myself. That's my opinion.
Currently, we should deny
Can
it.
we make one more point? Glacier can't annex the farm.
Sir, we're out of public hearing.
Are you going to withdraw your previous motion?
Yeah, I withdraw my previous motion.
Well, what's your thoughts? Wait,
Well, if we voted to deny it,
And it would go to the
based
HOA.
upon the current rules that we're under, current comprehensive plan, it's going to go to the county commissioners. They can decide whatever they want at that point in time. And I'm not saying I'm for or against it. I'm just saying that's the
Yeah.
only way we're going to get it up to them. And not only for the developer, for all these people here, because I feel for them, this thing's been dragging on
well,
forever.
I know, but that's going to get them to another meeting, though.
Well, they're going to have to go to another meeting at some point in time.
Well, yeah. I think-
And I'm not suggesting one way or the other that but to me, I can't say I would vote differently than the last time, which is it doesn't meet our comprehensive plan. We cannot approve it.
Yeah, my thoughts, I will not approve it. It's
Let's
not
do
done, no matter who it is, what it is, where it is. Something we haven't done, and I'm not going to slow it down.
An issue I see though, if you send it to the commissioners and then they vote no, then they're
Shut for a year.
they're locked for a year.
Yeah, otherwise, maybe to the comprehensive plan, they could do it without even coming back to us if we so zone it 2.5. The whole area, 2.5.
I think the developers would probably wait a few more months and have it locked in for another 15 months.
That's my
But
thought.
One thing they could do, which they've proven they've done once already, is if that was the case, they just grant them another waiver. If they change, if the zoning comes out and it would meet the zoning, they could go request another waiver. Is that correct? That's correct. Yeah. There's always another way.
That's a good way.
Okay, I'll still entertain a motion.
Let me try this again. Mr. Chair, I move that the proposed rezoning is outlined in case DEV-19-105 denied, and that findings on the golden factors is set forth in the staff report and is adopted by the planning commission as substantiated by the facts, testimony, and evidence presented be adopted by this board. Reason I think it would be detrimental to the area for the development, and secondly, it does not fit the comprehensive plan.
I'll second that motion.
A motion on the floor with a second to deny case number DEV 19-105, the rezone of a parcel of rural residential 5.5 land use to RR 2.5 land use. Everybody understand the motion? Is there any discussion? Roll call vote. John Matthews.
Yes.
Terry Bukowski.
Yes.
Yes to deny.
Yes to deny, yes.
Mark Denny.
Yes.
Alex Demaro.
Yes.
Wolf Smith. Yes. Rocky Hempel.
No, because I think it's our responsibility to kick it up there, but I'd just soon continue it until we got more information.
Jeanette Holdeman.
Yes.
Jeff Speak.
Yes.
And I'm torn between what Rocky did and what us, but I think either way, it's going to get to the Board of County Commissioners and let them make a decision. I'm going to vote yes too. It's either a yes or table it, denied or table it as far as I'm concerned, but it was denied by a code of 8-1. The Board of County Commissioners were to consider this item on December 4th at 9 a.m. Person wishing to file a protest petition must contact the Planning and Zoning Office. Protest petitions must be filed with Leavenworth County within 2 weeks of this meeting. To be valid, the protest petition must be signed by owners of 20% land area notification area. Anything else?
That's all.
We're adjourned.